Sir, I knew that boy. We lived together in the orphanage until he was 14. The cleaning lady's statement shattered the silence that reigned in the mansion's sumptuous corridors, breaking the calm of the opulent environment. The millionaire, frozen before the old painting, felt the world collapse at his feet. The face of the boy in the portrait was a perfect mirror of his brother, who had been missing for over 3 decades. A lump formed in his throat. The boy in the painting had the same innocent gaze, the same haircut, the same aura of purity that he vaguely recalled from his own childhood. The cleaning lady, her voice trembling, fought back tears. I called him Daniel, but he never mentioned his family. The millionaire Arthur approached slowly. The atmosphere seemed to grow heavier, as if the past were returning in the form of a tangible memory. Comment with the name of your city, like this video, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our next emotional stories. Artur Menezes was a man forged in the silence of his own victories. As the heir to a real estate empire, his life unfolded amidst million-dollar contracts, gala dinners, and a loneliness that not even the warmest applause could fill. However, an old wound persisted, a pain that no fortune could alleviate: the loss of his younger brother Lucas, taken when he was just 4 years old. The event devastated the Menezes family. His father, a highly respected lawyer, and his mother, a dedicated music teacher, moved heaven and earth to find their son. The police deployed all their resources, with teams, helicopters, and search dogs. Months of relentless searching, empty promises, and dead-end leads followed. The disappearance occurred on a Sunday morning during a walk in Central Park. The family's nanny was distracted for a brief moment, and the boy vanished among the trees. When Arthur, then 8 years old, heard the news, he made a solemn vow to himself. One day, he would bring his brother back. The years passed, and the tragedy became a forbidden topic in the house. His mother fell ill with melancholy, his father buried himself in work, and Arthur grew up under the weight of a promise he could never keep. The photograph of the missing boy remained on the living room piano, its colors faded by time. That is, until that afternoon. The new cleaning lady Clara had started working just 2 weeks prior. A young woman from the countryside, she was reserved, polite, and had a look in her eyes that seemed to hide a secret. Arthur had barely noticed her until the moment he found her standing before the old portrait of his brother. She was trembling, her eyes filled with tears, whispering incomprehensible words. Is something wrong? He inquired, intrigued. Clara turned slowly, a look of shock on her face. Sir, this boy, he lived with me in the orphanage until he was 14. Arthur thought he had misheard. What do you mean? She took a deep breath. His name was Daniel. He always said he had been taken from a wealthy family, but no one believed him. They thought it was a child's fantasy. I grew up with him. He always protected me. Arthur's heart raced. Are you telling me that this boy, Daniel, was my brother? Clara nodded as tears streamed down her face. I would never forget that face. Arthur was stunned. It was unbelievable, or at least it seemed to be. His brother had been gone for over 30 years, and if the boy really lived until he was 14, why was he never found? Clara shared everything she knew. Daniel had been left at the St. Vincent orphanage at the age of 6, brought by a supposed social worker after his adoptive parents died in a car accident. The documents listed him as an orphan from birth, but Daniel, in his childlike innocence, always spoke of a house with a large garden, a piano, and an older brother who called him my champion. He said it all the time, Clara said. No one believed him, but I did. Arthur asked her to recount every detail. Clara recalled that Daniel was extremely intelligent, had a talent for drawing, and would sometimes cry when watching news reports about missing children. He held on to the belief that he would one day be found. But at 14, after a fight at the orphanage, he ran away. He was never heard from again. Arthur turned back to the portrait. The painting had been done months before the incident, and the artist had masterfully captured little Lucas's serene gaze. The memories flooded back like a storm, the two of them playing ball in the garden, his brother's laughter, the sound of his mother singing at the piano. He felt the ache of absence, as if no time had passed at all. He was determined to uncover the truth. The next day, he hired a private investigator and asked Clara to accompany him to the orphanage. The building was still standing, but in a state of disrepair. An elderly nun, Sister Madalena, greeted them with a kind smile. When Arthur showed her the portrait, the woman turned pale. "My goodness, little Daniel. Yes, I remember him. Such a sweet, obedient boy, always drawing." Arthur presented the documents from the time of the disappearance and noticed a disturbing detail. The date of Daniel's arrival at the orphanage coincided exactly with the period when the search for his brother had ceased. "How did he end up here?" Arthur asked. The nun explained that the boy was brought in by a woman who identified herself as a state social worker, carrying forged documents and a fake birth certificate. She claimed the parents had passed away and the child had no other relatives. His orphan status was accepted without further investigation, as the country was going through a social crisis with hundreds of similar cases. Arthur was filled with a mix of rage and helplessness. It all made sense. The kidnapping, the sudden disappearance of Leeds, the supposed death of the adoptive parents. His brother had been just a few kilometers from home, forgotten due to systemic failures and the negligence of the authorities. Clara watched in silence, clutching the yellow gloves she still kept in her apron pockets. This was more than a revelation. It was a reunion with a past they had both lost. As they talked, the nun mentioned something that sent a chill down Arthur's spine. Before he ran away, Daniel left a drawing. He said that if anyone ever came looking for him, they would know who he was. The drawing was kept in an old folder. It depicted a grand house, a piano, and two boys holding hands. In the corner, in childish handwriting, were the words, "I am Lucas Menezes. One day my brother will find me." Arthur couldn't hold back his tears. Clara was also crying. He always said that. Back at the mansion, Arthur placed the drawing next to the portrait. The resemblance was undeniable. Now, only one piece of the puzzle remained: finding out what happened to Daniel after he ran away. He assembled a team of international investigators, delved into old archives, and cross-referenced missing persons data. Every lead seemed to be a dead end, until a name appeared in a shelter's registry in another city. Daniel Lucas Menezes, admitted at age 17 after being found injured on a road. Arthur traveled there immediately. He discovered that the young man had been hospitalized for 3 months and then disappeared again. There was a blurry photo in the files, but the eyes were the same. Clara followed every step, deeply moved. "I looked for him for years, but I never had the courage to talk to anyone. I thought I'd never see him again." Arthur held her hands. "Did you hear that, Clara? You were the only witness to what happened to my brother." She smiled sadly. "I was just a girl, sir, but he taught me what hope is." Night fell over the mansion. The boy's portrait seemed to watch them silently, as if waiting for the past to finally be corrected. Arthur vowed he would not rest until he found the truth. And in that promise, there was more than a search for justice. There was the longing to piece together the fragments of two lives marked by absence, that of the missing boy and that of the woman who had loved him like a brother. In the days that followed, Artur Menezes threw himself body and soul into the investigation. The case, long forgotten by the press and the police, re-emerged before his eyes. Forged documents, false names, illegal adoption records. Everything pointed to a child trafficking network that operated discreetly, connecting orphanages to wealthy families who couldn't adopt legally. The kidnapping of his brother Lucas had been one of their first acts. Clara assisted him in silence, reviewing old folders, reading reports, recognizing places. Each new discovery seemed to reopen an old wound. At night, they would sit in the mansion's office, surrounded by stacks of papers and memories. With every new clue, the face in the portrait seemed to come to life, as if the boy were somehow guiding them. One early morning, one of the investigators called Arthur. "We found something, a medical record for a man admitted in 2012 under the name Daniel Lucas. He was 30 years old. He had an accident and was admitted to a public hospital in Belo Horizonte." Arthur and Clara left that same day. At the hospital, they were led to the records department, where an elderly doctor who had worked there for decades received them. "I remember him well," the doctor said. "He was brought in without any documents and suffered from partial amnesia. He was here for a few months and then disappeared." The doctor recounted that the man was quiet, spoke little, but drew with remarkable skill. He had the talent of an artist. He was always drawing portraits of children, the doctor recalled. With his heart pounding, Arthur asked if any of the drawings had been kept. The man opened an old drawer and pulled out a yellowed folder. Inside were several sheets of paper, and on one of them, a clear drawing of a piano with two boys holding hands. Clara covered her mouth. He never forgot. The doctor then revealed something even more surprising. Before he left, he gave an address saying he needed to visit an old orphanage in São Vicente. After that, we never heard from him again. Arthur and Clara returned to the city where it all began. The orphanage, now abandoned, was a ruin covered in ivy and silence. They entered with flashlights, the floorboards creaking under their feet, the windows rattling in the wind, as if the past were demanding their presence. In the old boys' dormitory, Clara stopped in front of a wall covered in scribbles. Among them, one drawing stood out. A house, a piano, and the phrase, "I came back, but no one was waiting for me." Clara broke down in tears. "He was here, Arthur. He came back." Arthur knelt before the wall, tracing the lines with trembling fingers. "And we never knew." That simple, devastating sentence made the millionaire realize the full extent of the loss. It wasn't just a brother who had disappeared. It was an entire lifetime of affection, a bond broken by carelessness and fate. But there was still hope. One of the investigators found a recent record of a street artist using the name Lucas Menezes at craft fairs in the interior of Minas Gerais. The man was described as calm, introspective, and sold hand-drawn portraits of children. Arthur and Clara headed there immediately. They arrived in a small town nestled in the mountains. In the center, a colorful fair was taking place under the afternoon sun. Among the stalls and laughter, Clara saw him first. A man with a short beard, dressed in simple clothes, was painting a portrait of a little girl with delicate brushstrokes. The focused gaze, the serene posture. There was something familiar and painfully recognizable about him. Clara approached slowly. "Daniel?" He looked up. For a moment, the world seemed to stand still. His expression was one of shock and confusion, followed by a wave of emotion. "I know you," he murmured hesitantly. "From the orphanage." "Clara." She began to cry. "Yes, it's you." Arthur approached, his heart leaping. "Lucas," he said, his voice thick with emotion. The man turned pale. "Lucas," he repeated, confused. Arthur took the old drawing from his pocket. "You made this. It was your way of remembering us." Daniel's eyes filled with tears. He took the drawing with trembling hands and, as if something inside him unlocked, he began to weep. "I used to dream of this house, of this piano, of a brother who promised to find me." Arthur hugged him tightly. "I never gave up on you." The people at the fair stopped to watch, not understanding. Two men, now adults, embraced as if trying to reclaim a lifetime that had been stolen from them. Clara cried and smiled. It was as if time had finally returned what fate had taken away. In the following days, Lucas underwent exams and consultations. Doctors confirmed he suffered from deep-seated trauma and memory blocks, the result of the violent changes in his childhood and the accident that nearly killed him. But slowly, recollections began to surface. The smell of the piano's wood, the garden of the house, his mother's face. Back at the mansion, Lucas walked the halls as if exploring an old dream. He stopped before the portrait, the same one he had unconsciously recognized in his memories. He looked at Clara and Arthur. "I thought you had forgotten me." Arthur smiled through tear-filled eyes. "Never. I've been looking for you my whole life." Clara, moved, added, "And he waited for you in every line, in every memory." Lucas began living at the mansion temporarily, surrounded by care. The nights were long, but filled with conversations that seemed to heal old wounds. Clara became the link between the two brothers, recalling details of their lost childhood and their time at the orphanage. One day, while opening an old box of mail, Arthur found a yellowed letter his mother had left before she died. "If fate ever brings Lucas back, tell him the piano still waits for him, that love never forgets." Arthur showed the letter to his brother, who smiled through his tears. "Mom always played Chopin, remember?" Arthur nodded. "I remember. She used to say every note was a prayer." That night, the two of them sat at the dust-covered piano. Arthur played the first few notes, trembling and emotional. Lucas joined in, improvising as they did when they were children, and for the first time in 30 years, the sound of the piano filled the mansion. From the doorway, Clara watched with a light heart. She knew this moment wasn't just a reunion of brothers, it was the rebirth of an entire family. But there was still one final revelation. Days later, while reviewing the old files, Arthur discovered the name of the woman who had delivered Lucas to the orphanage with false documents, a nurse named Teresa Villar, who had worked in private hospitals at the time. A quick investigation revealed she had been paid by a wealthy family who couldn't have children. The intention was never to harm the boy, but to raise him. However, fate intervened with the fatal accident of the adoptive parents. Arthur decided not to seek revenge. "The past has already exacted its price," he said. Instead, he created a foundation in his mother's name, dedicated to finding missing children and supporting orphanages. Clara was appointed coordinator. Lucas, now a recognized artist, painted the institution's logo, two boys holding hands in front of a piano. On the day of the inauguration, reporters and guests filled the main hall. Arthur took the stage and said, "This story began with a promise. A brother promised to find another, and a woman with a pure heart kept alive the memory that the world tried to erase. Today, we turn our pain into hope." Lucas hugged him in front of everyone. "Love found us, Arthur, even after everything." Clara, through tears, looked at the portrait hanging on the wall, the same one that had started it all. Now it seemed to be smiling. And so, in the very place where the pain was born, redemption also blossomed. Because time may erase faces, but it can never erase the love that insists on remembering. Support our channel with a simple like on this video. We will be back soon with another story. Take care.